When you're watching Doctor Strange, I have to say this movie was pretty quick. I was like, whoa, this is a fast movie. Everything sort of happens really quickly and everything goes like one step after another after another after another. Like everything is sped up and I kind of wish that they took their time a little bit more on some of the on maybe some of his more origin parts. Like I wanted to see more of him being an arrogant doctor or his relationship with Christine, him having money, him being just basically more of his life before he becomes Doctor Strange. But there obviously needs to be time for him to be Doctor Strange, and then when he does become Doctor Strange, I wanted more time for him to learn his sorcery before he gets roped into the huge battle. You know what I mean? It feels like everything kind of knocks down quickly and there's no space to breathe, you know what I mean? And it kind of feels like rushed and pretty quick. But all in all, this superhero movie is completely different. And that's the cool thing about these, is that I never felt like any of the superhero origin stories or movies, it felt like they were all, I mean, certainly there are certain like what's it called? Movie tropes, or I don't know what the right word is, like story tropes or things that happen that are just basically reused over and over and over again. And sure, you can nitpick and you can say like it's exactly like all the other origin stories. But the reason why I think it's so different, or I think it's like pretty cool, is it isn't about like him having like this purpose of like, I want to become Doctor Strange, or I want to become this sorcerer. You know what I'm saying? It was more so like, I'm a doctor. I want to stay a doctor. You know, what's the right term? I want to stay a doctor, and I just want to heal my hands. That's it. Like, it's a pretty selfish desire. You know, all he wants is to go back to normal life. He doesn't want to become anything more. You know what I'm saying? Whereas other characters, things kind of happen to them, or they feel a sense of duty or purpose to go after the things, or they actively choose to become something so that way they can heal, or so that way they can become like the best version of themselves. You know what I mean? Some of them are accidents. Like Captain America wanted to become, well, he wanted to become the super soldier or get experimented on solely so that he could stop the war. He could help people. He could fight the Germans. He could beat the Nazis, right? Stop Hydra, all this other stuff, you know? And that was like a sense of duty, a sense of like patriotism, a sense of helping his country. And then Tony Stark became Iron Man to stop his weapons being manufactured and killing people from across the world, you know what I mean? He didn't want that anymore. And then Thor became worthy when he finally experienced human life and how it is to be weak and helpless, and still having a courageous heart, still having the ability to like protect others, to save others, to sacrifice himself, you know, so that way other people could be okay, could live. And Bruce, he was trying to become, well, he was trying to do research on how to figure out the super soldier serum. And by accident, he turned into the Hulk, and now he deals with this inner turmoil. But you know what I'm saying. And compared to the last origin story we had, Ant-Man, it's more of like that's more of a family dynamic relationship, you know? He doesn't want to be Ant-Man selfishly. He didn't even care about being Ant-Man. He just wants to be with his daughter. He wants to spend time with his daughter. He missed so much, 5 years, you know what I mean, of her life, that he's like, okay, I want to be a part of it now. I don't remember how long he was in prison for, but let's just say it was 5 years, 3 years, 2 years, however long it was. He was in prison, and he feels like he missed out on a lot, and he wants to catch up and be with everybody again. And if he does things the right way, he'll never get time with his daughter. But he gets the offer to become Ant-Man, so that way he can do something for Hank Pym, he can help him out, and then he's going to help him out, and it just becomes like this choice of like, I want to be with my daughter and I want to help this man and his family, just like he's trying to help me and my family. There's a personal angle there, and it's not for selfish desires. It's to help people. And in this movie, it's his. It's his selfish desire just to get his hands back, to go back to being a doctor, to go back to like that old life he used to have. And that old life was awful. He was such an asshole. Like, it didn't work. You know what I'm saying? It isn't something to aspire to or to be anymore. But he doesn't know any better. He doesn't know any better, and it's obviously selfish desires. But in becoming and figuring out sorcery and learning how to become a sorcerer, that's when he's able to like fully embrace it, and then eventually when the time comes, help the entire earth. You know what I mean? So let's start from the beginning. Doctor Strange is a neurosurgeon doctor, and we get to see how good he is at his practice. We get to see who's in his social circle. We get to see Rachel McAdams in the movie, who is beautiful. I don't know how Doctor Strange pushes her away out of his life. I was like, come on, dude. I was like, Christine, no. You know what I mean? I don't know how he could do that to Christine. I would never do that to Christine. But that's beside the point. Rachel McAdams is in the movie, and she does a great job. I feel like, obviously, she's underused. I would like to see her do more, but she does a pretty good job, all things considered. She's funny, she's sweet, she's emotional. She brings a good tenderness to the film that I really like. So anyways, Rachel McAdams is in the movie, and essentially, we see Doctor Strange be good at his job. We see him flirt with Christine. We see them have like some sort of a relationship. And then all disaster strikes. Disaster happens where Doctor Strange gets into a car accident, driving fast or not paying attention or doing whatever, and messes up his hands in the crash. His whole body is messed up. And then they get him into surgery. Then they try to fix his hands, but they're all messed up. You know, it's nerve damage and all this other stuff happens to him. It's just like, I can't use my hands anymore. And he keeps on coming up with, okay, maybe if I try this to fix my hands, if I try to do this to fix my hands, if I try to become this or that or that or this or this or that or that or this to fix his hands. And instead, it's just more so like, how can I continue to feed my ego? How can I continue to be the man that I once was? You know what I'm saying? He was like, I want to be back as a neurosurgeon the way that I used to be, as strong as I used to be, as good as I used to be. And this is the part where I feel like they needed more time to focus on this, because instead of maybe blitzing past it, I feel like they should stay with it in the moment for a little bit and give it a little bit of time. You know what I mean? Like let his hands heal, sort of, and then find some other medical profession for him to be a part of. Like, obviously he's not going to be a neurosurgeon anymore, but maybe he can have he can work as, I don't know, some sort of like just a basic doctor, you know what I mean? Just a basic, simple doctor, you know what I mean? And then he's unhappy. You see that he's not using his full potential, I guess you should say. And it's true. And so then he's kind of like, he gets a little bit of money, and then he goes travel the world and figure out how to like fix his hands or repair his hands. So then, after the accident, after he can't get his hands to work, he kicks out Christine. She's helping him, and he's just like, oh, what do I care about this life? It's like, if I can't go back to the life I used to have, my life won't have meaning anymore. And then Christine is like, you still have meaning in your life? And he's like, oh yeah, what meaning? What? Like you? And she's like, oh yeah? I'm leaving. She was like, now's the time where you apologize. And he doesn't apologize. And I'm just like, duh. So he doesn't apologize. She leaves him. And then he's sad about it. And then he gets proven wrong by his physical therapist. So he goes to like physical therapy for his hands. And he was basically like doubting his recovery. He was like, hey, have you ever seen anybody come back from these bad injuries? And the guy's like, yeah, I have seen somebody, one person do it. So that means you can do it. You're possible. And he was like, oh, yeah, right. And you're just like, okay, I'm going to go get the files and then I'm going to show them to you. And it's all just to prove you wrong. You know what I mean? And then he doesn't even like show him during his physical therapy sessions. He sends him the full-on file. And I don't know how ethical that is. That's probably breaching some sort of protocol. Like you can't just send someone else's medical history and records and stuff. And it was full of like x-rays. So anyways, he goes over there and he finds the guy that was treated or was magically healed. And he's kind of like, how did you do it? And then he was like, oh, I remember you. You're one of the doctors, right? Yeah, you said I was untreatable. And he said, yeah, you were untreatable. I looked at you. There was nothing I could do to save you. There was no medical procedure, no surgery that was going to help you go back to walking again. But look at you. You're playing basketball. You're high-fiving people. You're jumping. You're running. You're doing everything. And so the guy tells him, he shows him his hands. He's like, I'm trying to heal myself. And so the guy's kind of like, okay. I had to go to a place. I had given up on my body, but my mind was capable of being expanded. So he found a place that would expand his mind. And it was a place that allowed his body to heal. He was able to heal. He was able to become stronger. And because of that, him being stronger, he was able to, he was able to walk again. He was able to heal. His body healed itself. And he was like, there were more things that I could have learned there, but my mind wasn't ready to accept them. So instead, I settled for my miracle, him walking again, and he came back to regular life. And so the place he's looking for is called Kamartaj. And then he sends Doctor Strange on his way. Doctor Strange goes over there, he gets mugged, beat up, his watch gets broken that was given to him by Christine, and we see, I don't want to pronounce this actor's name wrong, although I can't really pronounce his name right either, so, but essentially he gets found by a sorcerer from Kamartaj, and, Chiwetel Ejiofor. Oh my gosh, his name is Mordo, all right, Baron Mordo. So anyways, he shows up and he shows Steven to the Ancient One, played by Tilda Swinton, who's great in the movie. I thought she was a great Ancient One. There was some debate about, obviously because she's not, I think the Ancient One is like of Asian descent, and she's not. She's white, and she's just bald. But I thought she did a great job with the role. I thought she was really, I thought she was really good. So anyways, she's in the movie, and she shows him, expands his mind, and gets him to realize that, like, oh snap, there's like this whole crazy world. You know what I mean? She just took him on an acid trip out of nowhere. And he comes back from the acid trip and he's like, teach me. And she does the smartest thing, and that's it. And she says no, kicks him out. And then it's Mordo who's like, come on, let's teach the guy, see what he can really do. And so they invite him back in, they help him out, and that's when they start learning all of the different things about sorcery. And this is another point where I wish they had taken their time to kind of explain the magic a little bit more, but I thought it was cool nonetheless. Learning how to open portals, how to conjure weapons, how to do spells and learning stuff. And Stephen Strange is really quick at it. He gets a grasp of the concept pretty quickly. As soon as he learns how to use the sling ring, when he learns to use the sling ring, everything kind of works out for him. You know what I mean? But all of this stuff is happening so quickly, so quickly. We learn about the mirror dimension. We learn about how they practice their spells without affecting humanity. And that's what the mirror dimension is all about. They can use their spells in there safely without hurting anybody. And then that's when we kind of get a glimpse into the bad guys. And they were technically the opening, you know what I'm saying? We got to look at Mads Mikkelsen, who plays Caecilius, fighting the Ancient One, played by Tilda Swinton. And we see that they have stolen a page from one of their books or whatever. And he basically wants to bring the dark dimension into the world, and that doesn't sound good. So his whole plan is, we're going to bring Dormammu over here to Earth, and he's going to include our world in the dark dimension, and then we're going to be the strongest, the best versions of ourselves, which I don't believe for a second, but that's the idea. That's their whole shtick, is that we're going to bring Dormammu over here, the Earth is going to be part of the dark dimension, and then that's it. So then, once Doctor Strange is learning how to use his spells, we see him use the Eye of Agamotto to reverse time, move forward in time using an apple, which I thought was a great scene. That's probably my favorite scene in the movie, is him using the Eye of Agamotto for the first time. He's able to unlock it, and then he's able to rewind the apple and then fast forward the apple to being eaten and rotten. And then he tries to do another thing, and Mordo and Wong show up, and they're just like, "What are you doing? You can't do that. You can't do that here." And they basically explain the dangers of using time magic, which is reliving time loops, reliving the same moment over and over and over again without being able to break out or never being able to have existed at all. I thought those are really smart ways to do not use time magic. It's not going to work out for you. So then, we basically see, well, not basically, we kind of just learn from Wong and Mordo that there is a significance to what the sorcerers are doing. They're just not up there hanging out and practicing magic and spells and stuff. They're up there because they're fighting an eternal war against people of the dark dimension or other things from different realities. They're basically protectors of Earth as we know it. So all of the real, that's why there's no monsters on Earth per se, you know what I mean? Because they're there to stop them and kill them and, bring peace to the world. They protect our reality from becoming something completely different. And I like that. And so they basically tell Doctor Strange, they say, "And now you're a part of this." And Doctor Strange is like, whoa, 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 whoa. I didn't come here to fight in some mystical war between the sorcerers and other realities and other dimensions. I'm only here to heal my hands. And that's when the purpose kind of strikes him, or kind of forces him to feel, or to give him a sense of purpose or duty. You know what I mean? Is he connected enough to sorcery or to doing this that he's willing to protect and help people? That's not being a neurosurgeon anymore. So that's when it's first planted into his brain. And then Caecilius shows up, and then they go into this whole huge battle, which I thought was really great. A good use of a good use of CGI. I felt like they were able to do so much creative things with it. They were able to use the cloak of levitation. They were able to use like the doors and the walls and the floors like moving. They were able to use the mirror dimension and like reality folding on itself. They were able to use so many fun little things back and forth. And so eventually Caecilius and Doctor Strange have a conversation, and Caecilius is saying the Ancient One uses dark magic too. She uses the dark dimension to become so strong. She uses the dark dimension to be the all-powerful Ancient One. How do you think she lived this long? You know? And Doctor Strange is like, whoa, I don't know. And so eventually he gets hurt, he gets stabbed, and he seeks out Christine to help him. And then he has a astral projection fight, which was really fun. It's just those little things that make it so... that does make it fantasy. That does make it action. That makes it fun. That makes it so completely different than anything else. An astral projection fight. They've never done that in an Avengers movie. Imagine they did that in Avengers Age of Ultron. Didn't happen. So I thought that was cool. I also thought it was cool when Christine is like shocking Doctor Strange, and then he's like using the shock to basically kill his opponent, the other guy. And I thought that was cool. I thought it was cool to see, obviously, for him to show Christine, listen, this is what I've been doing, and how he can, like, appear before her and then show her where to, like, stab the needle into his heart or whatever. I thought that was cool, too. Just like that, being able to, like, show him. And then I think, if I'm not mistaken, they get into another fight, or like Doctor Strange leaves, Caecilius is free, and everybody's going after Caecilius now. And they get into another mirror dimension fight, and that's where the Caecilius basically reveals to Mordo and to Wong and to everybody else that the Ancient One uses the Dark Dimension, the Dark Dimension's powers. And they fight each other, and that's when the Ancient One, like, kind of gets attacked and hurt and dies. And it's in that point where the Ancient One passes away that she's able to really hit Doctor Strange in the head and accept that she's going to die. She's accepting her death. And she tells Doctor Strange, is like, you're capable of so much good. You are capable. And you're capable not because of your want to succeed, but because of your fear of failure. And I thought that was a huge one. That was a huge hit. It's like, you should strive for success, not out of fear. And this is something that you can do, physically do. And her accepting her death made made Stephen Strange kind of just like, this is the direction I want to go in. This is something that I want to do. And I feel like that's the moment he decides to become Doctor Strange, the sorcerer that we know from the comics. That's the point he decides to do it. So then Caecilius starts attacking all of the other temples and whatnot, and he beats them, and then now Dormammu is coming, and the Dark Dimension is going to come into Earth. So they're in China. I think it's Hong Kong. They're in Hong Kong, and they have to stop Caecilius and his people. And so Doctor Strange reverses time to basically fix everything. They already won, but he reverses time and goes to stop Caecilius. But he realizes beating Caecilius alone isn't going to stop it. What he needs to do is to stop Dormammu from attacking Earth. So he goes up to face Dormammu one-on-one, and he puts on a time loop using the Eye of Agamotto, and then basically he's just like, Dormammu, I've come to bargain over and over and over again. And he gets killed, and then the time loop resets. he gets killed and the loop resets. And Dormammu and him are stuck in this prison of, hey, I've come to bargain. I've come to bargain. He's stuck in that same time loop. And I thought that was brilliant. And it was a moment of like, I'm stuck in here and you're stuck in here. And because I choose to be stuck in here, that makes you my prisoner. You know what I mean? I have time. And being stuck in this moment is my choice to protect Earth, to help the people of Earth. You, on the other hand, you're stuck here. You can never do anything else outside of this moment. And you didn't choose it. So that makes you my prisoner. And I like that moment. And Dormammu's like, fine. What do you want? He's like, I want you to leave Earth and never come back. Ever. And so he obliges. He takes away Caecilius, basically. He kills him, or like he absorbs them in the dark dimension and they go away. And Wong and Doctor Strange are now I don't know, they're basically the boys, you know what I mean? They're holding down the fort. And Mordo's like, I'm leaving as a sorcerer. I can't believe that the Ancient One would call on the Dark Dimension. She was using magic wrong. I hate her. And I hate anybody who's a real sorcerer. So then he leaves, and Wong explains that the Eye of Agamotto is actually an Infinity Stone, the Time Stone. And I thought that was, I mean, I knew that was going to be the case, but every time he says it, I love it. He's just like, it's not wise to hold an Infinity Stone. I just thought that was so cool that he knows about them and he knows everything about them. I thought that was cool. And then finally, they kind of settle into their lives and this is it. You know what I mean? This is what they're doing. I gotta be honest, I forget what the post-credit scene is. But before that, Stan Lee cameo is he's like a bus passenger and they're in like the mirror dimension and they like hit the glass and he's like reading a book. He's like, that's hilarious. I thought that was funny. What else is there? The post-credit scene was Doctor Strange meeting Thor. He comes to Earth and Doctor Strange meets Thor. They're talking about Loki being back on Earth. And I thought that was a really cool scene. It's a setup for Thor's next movie. Really, really cool. And it kind of establishes that, like, time has gone by and Doctor Strange is different. Or, like, he's stronger now, I guess. Or I suppose. I thought that was cool. And then the end credit scene was Mordo. So you remember that guy who talked to Doctor Strange about how he healed his body and he came back to the world? Well, Mordo, instead of going after a really strong sorcerer like Doctor Strange or Wong or anybody else that can like actually do magic and fight back, he goes after the weakest guy and then he makes him a cripple again. Like, this guy, and he's like, there are too many sorcerers abusing magic. Like, what the hell? What is the matter with him? It just, for no reason. And then he leaves the guy crippled. What the hell? That sucked on so many levels. I was like, why go after the weakest guy? Like, if your problem was with sorcerers, then you should go after Doctor Strange. You should go after another student, a real student, not somebody who healed themselves or fixed their body. Like, he's not even a real sorcerer. He didn't even learn how to fight. He didn't learn how to do anything outside of, like, any real magic. He just learned how to heal his body. And this guy wants to be like, there are too many sorcerers. He makes him a cripple again. That was just, he destroys his body or takes away his ability to use magic. And then he goes back to being all messed up. His back destroyed, broken bones, him not being able to move, paralyzed, all of it. And I was just like, that's not justice. This guy is definitely doing the wrong thing. And I don't know how he can confidently stand there looking at him all messed up and be like, yeah, you're abusing magic. What? I mean, my goodness. I just thought it was so stupid that he did that's the decision he makes. He goes after the weakest guy there. I was like, That's not it, dude. That was definitely not it. So, long story short, Mordo was definitely not in the right here. But anyways, I thought that this movie was, I mean, I obviously thought it was really quick. I thought it was really fast paced, this movie. It gets from one scene to the other really quickly. And I think they make good use of CGI. I think they make a good use of the mirror dimension. I think the action, the choreography, I thought everything about this movie was so unique and so fresh. And it was also kind of like, I mean, there were humorous parts to it too, but it just like, it worked. You know, it worked for me. It felt like a really good origin story. It felt like a really good solo movie. And this solo movie would be the base for everything that's to come next for him. You know, so he'll be in this movie and then the next movie. He's basically like a real stamp, or he's a real like rock in the MCU moving forward. He kind of can be all over the place or involved in everybody's lives accordingly. Him and Wong, I should say. So anyways, I thought this was a good movie. I really like it. I like to watch some scenes, not the whole movie. So in terms of like a whole movie rewatch, it's a little bit not there, I should say, or it's not like, I don't want to sit through the whole beginning again. I just want to get to like him learning magic, him fighting with the magic, and all of that stuff I feel is more interesting. So like a good half of the movie, I could rewatch it again, or certain scenes, not the whole thing, but it does have a high rewatchability factor for me. I do like watching it. So anyways, thank you guys so much for listening. I'll talk to you guys all next time. Thank you.